Okay, very good afternoon to everyone that's present with us today physically and also on the live stream. Welcome to the final debating session for MUSA General Elections Day 1. So today we have the functioning body slash editors debate. There are one party that will be present here today for debating session on behalf of functioning body. It will be Equitas with four members who are Ang Jishing, Crystal Chiwinyan, Jason Yashvin. So there will be the only candidates for the functioning body position. And here with us today is also the office bearers of functioning body. They are Teresa, Alina, Azric, and also Karen. So without further ado, we'll begin with the opening statement from the candidates, where they will be sharing their manifestos and also introducing themselves to the students community. So we can pass on to the candidates. Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal, government name Chiwing Yan, and I am currently running for the head of media. And past experiences for me would be I was the head of video production when I was in Sunway Echo Media, which is a student leadership body, and I also have experience in the production crew for Dola. If you know, it's a Malaysian girl group, and we produced the music video Bad, as well as a publicity member in SAS, where I do mostly events as well as publicity work.
Hi, I'm Ziting and I'm running of admin for editors. I'm currently a manga admin subcom and have past experience in accounting firm and was head of sponsorship in IMU for Chair Fair. This experience has equipped me with administrative skills, communication skills needed to talk to vendors and seek sponsorship, and also social media management skills needed to be the head of admin.
Hi everyone, my name is Yashvin. I will be running for the head of writers for manga for the next term. Being a part of previous editorial teams outside of Monash has equipped me with sufficient editorial processes and editorial skills to be implemented in manga next year. So a part of this would be I have an article published under Malaysia Kini, which is a reputable online newspaper in Malaysia. And I was also the editorial director of Taylor's AKPK, which is a club during my time in Taylor's College. I'm also currently a writing subcommittee, in manga. So this position will allow me a seamless transition from my current position to the head of writing.
Hello everyone, my name is Jason Nathaniel. I'm a year 2 Sem 2 psychology student under School of Arts and Social Sciences. Alongside my team members, I'll be running for the head of design. And I have 2 years of learning and creating experience with graphic design with Adobe Photoshop from my previous institution. And I applied this skill in the professional setting during my previous internship. To introduce you to our first manifesto point, when elected as editors, we will be committing ourselves to inclusivity and diversity. We are committed to lead manga in its journey to amplify student voices and provide a platform that is inclusive and safe. Every Monashian, no matter their race, ethnicity, class, gender, or any other identity traits, will always be welcome to publish under manga. We, the candidates, embody diversity ourselves, as you can see today, with equal representation of both men and women, as well as a diverse representation of race and gender. This should give you reassurance that we are sensitive towards gender and racial issues, and when elected, we will be committed to creating a diverse team of communities and produce thematic months and snapshot challenge prompts that cater towards DEI practices.
Moving on to our next manifesto point, manga also aims to embrace transparency, but the way we're going to be doing this next term is going to be slightly different. Currently, manga serves primarily as a reporting body where we get event coverage requests and we report based on those events, right? We intend to expand this scope by implementing a new reporting approach where it would solidify our commitment towards ensuring transparency and accountability in Monash. So to paint a more clearer picture, an example that I can pluck on would be the ESSFS surveys and the SETU surveys. Students have an ability to improve teaching and learning in Monash. The problem with these surveys is that it has a low response rate And the results of this survey is only published after the survey is closed. So students are not necessarily aware of the issues relating to teaching and learning while the survey is there and while they have the opportunity to respond to the survey. And students generally have a herd mentality. If they're not made apparent of a particular issue, they're not going to act on it. So this is why Monga comes in. Monga aims to act as a platform where students can use Monga and to display their issues. So an instance would be if they have particular difficulties in a certain unit in Monash, and if we find that most students also have this difficulty, we would allow them to use Monga as a platform to raise their concerns and to have Monash make effective change according to this publication. But this is not confined within just teaching and learning, right? If you have a very legitimate issue Monash that they're concerned with, and we've fact-checked it and we've made sufficient quality control that this issue and real in Monash, they're able to again use Monga as a platform to further this issue and to make this issue apparent. Since Monash in general aims for transparency, equality, inclusivity, and equity, we believe that this new reporting approach and we believe that this new writing series that acts as an internal project of ours would aim to serve as a general idea towards the betterment of Monash and Monash students.
Our term manifesto point is that we aim to increase Monga student outreach by engaging Monashians through flagship events that showcases student creative work. We also want to have interactive workshops where the speakers show a demo and participants are able to follow and create their own creative work. Think hands-on workshop and not just lectures. After the workshop, we might hold a competition to celebrate the student creative work. We also aim to expand our social media reach. Besides Instagram, we also want to branch out to other platforms such as YouTube. So Monga to get its very own YouTube channel where Monga members have a place where they can express their creative work. Our other aim is to collab with MUSA divisions and clubs. By working together, we can expand our flagship events and make it big. To make our event coverage more like collaboration between MUSA divisions and clubs, we would like to encourage them to mention us in their slides or word of mouth at the end of their event that Monga is covering for the EC to let everyone know that Monga is its own functioning body and not just photographers or writers for the event.
And for our fourth and final manifesto, in deconstructing the central definition of Monga, we aim to redefine Monga not just being known as a reporting body, but also more as a creative channel, not just for our students, but also for our members. And we would love to show students that we, Monga, are not only the voice for the students, but are also our own individual people. So we want to share not only the creative works for Monashian events, but also internal creative works and projects made personally by our members. So we intend to collaborate with clubs and other societies for possible works, such as maybe making a music video for the music club or with MUMPAC or MCO and MSDS, because we are for the students, by the students. Other than that, these are just potential projects that we intend and we might undertake. Ultimately, the final decision and creative freedom falls onto our members. Other than that, our internal members maybe have content with like maybe podcasts or entertainment videos, such as like TikTok challenges. And for event coverages, we, like what my teammate Zhiqing has said, that we want to increase our student outreach as well as making our names known not just as an event coverage and reporting body, but also our own individual people. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of the opening statement. Alright, so now we'll be passing to the questions from office bearers, where office bearers will be asking questions to the candidates of functioning body.
Hi everyone, that's such a great manifesto, and you emphasize about a lot on creativity, events, collaborations. Why would you shift the focus away from our primary focus being student journalism And what motivates you for this change? And how would this manifesto benefits Monga and MUSA as a whole? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Karen, for that question. Student journalism is a very broad concept, and we strongly believe that in this concept of student journalism, it also encapsulates the idea of creativity. It also encapsulates the idea of giving a platform to Monash students to further to further create art and to further nourish their creative desires. We are not essentially shifting the focus away from student journalism and event coverages, right? We're not shifting the focus of Monga away from reporting events in Monash. What we're doing right now is at this stage, we're emphasizing it solely because we believe that there is a lack of student creativity when it comes to manga, solely because most of our focus is on event coverages, and we believe that this student creativity and encouraging student creativity will be able to be benefited from the idea of redefining manga and establishing the fact that we're prioritizing both event coverages and reporting events in Monash, as well as encouraging creativity.
Sorry, you haven't answered. How will it benefit MUSA as a whole?
How will it benefit MUSA or how will it benefit Monga?
MUSA and Monga.
MUSA and Monga.
So in terms of how it would benefit MUSA, I think manga is one of the only departments in MUSA that really looks at publicizing Monash or publicizing Monash events in a more creative manner, right? Publicity divisions, they have their own guidelines that they follow, and they publicize or they give publicity to Monash events based on the guideline that they have. And this guideline doesn't necessarily deviate too much from the norm, right? What we do in manga is we deviate from the norm. We are taking creative efforts and we're taking creative challenges on, and we are emphasizing that. With this, we're able to further bring up MUSA, considering the fact that we are employing diverse and creative publicizing strategies. So if we are going to report an event or publicize a particular event in a more creative way that is central to manga and that deviates from the norm that we have in Monash, students are more likely to go to the MUSA page, and students are more likely to know that MUSA is genuinely a student body in Monash and not just a placeholder.
Okay, so thank you so much for that answer. Picking back off of Karen's question, I would like to ask if your focus next sem is more towards creativity and, finding the balance between creativity and student events, how will you make sure that this doesn't overlap with the job scope of MUSA publicity? Do you understand the difference between MUSA publicity and manga, and how will you avoid this overlapping and generally lowering interaction as a whole?
I think I will take this question. Okay, so my bad. Sorry. So in terms of the difference between manga and publicity, personally, for manga, we mostly document or cover for events, right? But for publicity, they're mostly on publicizing the events. So they're mostly doing like the pre-events and also the during events. Of course, they do cover like after events, but majority of the job will be for manga to do. So in our take on that, for creativity wise, we pretty much just intend to put manga's taste into majority of our content, which really depends on what our future theme will be, and also depending on our subcoms and how they want to put out the content as well. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Okay, so since everyone on the team has experience as a subcommittee member this year, how will you leverage this as a strength rather than a potential weakness for your team?
Thank you for the question. So since all of us are part of manga as subcoms, so we do have the knowledge of each department, what they want and what's their expectations. So to this, we can leverage this advantage to make manga more like a happy place for subcoms and for us. It's because we do know how it's like to be a subcom in manga. So I think it is an advantage for us. Anything to
To add up, just to add on to what Ziqing has brought up, I feel like all of us having subcommittee experience in manga has really helped us to be connected with the history and how manga has been run throughout our experience as a committee. This has given us a lot of nuance and understanding of how to be good OBs from seeing existing examples of a good OB, and that we can continue that legacy and continue making manga even better.
Just to add on a more technical approach to this question, since we're equipped with the skills of being a subcommittee, the transition over being a subcommittee to the head of writing in terms of the technical aspects of the job would be quite fairly easy to handle. I can offer you a context that is specific to the writing department, right? Since I am now aware that Teresa struggles to get writers to make event coverages, we're able to leverage this aspect or this problem that we faced this year and think of strategies and think of ways to encourage writers to take up these event coverage requests.
Thank you. So this is just a follow-up question. So this one is for Jason. So you were part of the writing team, right, this year? So what made you decide to run as a head of design? And do you have any experience in this field prior to this?
Thank you for that question. To answer that, I think I've brought it up briefly during my self-introduction. I have 2 years of study experience and design experience under my previous institution, which involved using where I'm professionally trained in Adobe Photoshop, and I applied those skills professionally in my previous internship when I was in Indonesia, in designing product listings and graphic material for my company. The reason why I made the jump from writing to design is truly because I've had a whole year of experience under you writing, and I've had a lot of room to express my creativity through writing. And I feel like moving forwards, I would like to make a switch of expressing my creativity instead in graphic designing and show manga that I am a multi-talented person and that I can take on both jobs, pretty much. Thank you.
All right, so considering that manga has a platform on TikTok, how does having another platform on YouTube differ in benefiting the students? And what types of content do you plan to produce for YouTube?
Okay, first of all, thank you for the question. I really like this question, actually. We have TikTok, but I realized that we don't usually use TikTok. And the reason why we decide to go to YouTube rather than TikTok is because for YouTube, the flexibility is bigger. And if you look at TikTok, majority of the content that you can put is only maybe like a few minutes, maybe sometimes you can put like a whole movie, right? But it's mostly on a vertical option. And we personally feel like if we put it in a horizontal option, and using TikTok, there is also the option of YouTube Shorts. So there is the flexibility whether or not we want to create short content or we want to create a long content. So that flexibility is one of the biggest reasons why I would prefer to jump towards YouTube compared to TikTok. But for TikTok, it would be good for student outreach. However, for our term, we're leaning more towards YouTube, and we would be prioritizing that.
Can I add on? The reason why we want to get a YouTube channel is because we want to put a long duration content, as Crystal mentioned, and for YouTube we can also put other, we can highlight other departments as well. So we can highlight marketing, writing and design as well, like montages.
And also for the question that you had is what type of content that we intend to do. So I mentioned briefly in the manifesto that we do intend to collaborate with some of the creative clubs. So for example, music club, this is just a potential idea, but we might make a music video with music club, or maybe we collab with Mumpack or MCO and MSDS, maybe create like a dance music video for them as well. But as I said, these are potential contents. For other type of internal contents, we are thinking of maybe making a podcast, which is related to a point where Jiqing has said that we can highlight other departments as well, such as writing and graphic design. So maybe podcasts or entertainment videos would be a good start for our YouTube channel as well.
As a follow-up question, how would you prioritize in allocating workload and ensure effective team coordination in delivering not only just event coverage, but also the production of these YouTube projects?
So for this, like I have mentioned, this for the YouTube, it's going to be an internal project, right? And the main point of having a YouTube channel for us is that we want to celebrate the creativity that our members have, especially when it comes to media team, because a lot of our members are really talented and they have a lot of creative artworks. But the thing is, since we're mainly focusing on maybe short content for this semester or this year, is that they aren't able to kind of like show these contents off, these long type of contents. So having these type of platforms allows them to kind of just put out more content that they create that are longer form. And also, yeah, that is about it.
In terms of dividing workload and ensuring that everyone has like a responsibility, right? Just to clarify, that was, yeah. So something that we would like to implement during potentially our term would be a quota system, right? So we've collected a little bit of data from event requests that we've received this semester. We've gotten 30 event requests for media, 21 event requests for writing. That's included with the requests that we've rejected and requests that we've accepted. And there's 9 writers, 14 photographers, and 7 videographers, right? So with all of this data laid out, we're now able to like sufficiently understand what each person has to bring to the table, right? We're able to take like this very arbitrary value of 30 and then divide it by 21, and then we can see that each media subcom requires to take on at least 2 to 3 projects per sem. So with this kind of mechanism in place, everyone kind of understands their responsibility and their workloads from the very beginning, right? Before we accept them into the team, we're going to inform them that this is the amount of projects they need to take on per semester. And for writing, there is 9 writers, 21 event coverages. So we're able to make like a very accurate figure where each person requires to take on that particular amount of projects per semester. And applying this to our term, it would streamline quite a few issues that we've had this semester specifically.
Okay, so piggybacking off of what was said earlier, I want to ask, creative content is not a fully quantifiable metric. When it comes to creativity, it's very difficult to determine the amount of time that it will take to produce a piece of content that is up to not only the standard of manga, but the standard of the person creating it. There are examples where certain subcommittees who take on lesser workload, contribute significantly more by the quality of their content versus the quantity. So how will you ensure that no one is taking on more than they can handle, especially since longer you're focusing on YouTube content? I don't know if you know, but this year Monga did a collab with Publicity to produce a video on YouTube, and that video took about a month to produce because of the fact that the workload is so significantly more than a 1 minute piece of video content. How would you make sure that this is sustainable moving forward?
The timing.
Answer the first part first. So I'll respond to the first part of your question, and then Crystal will take over to respond to the second part. So in terms of the first part, where you're concerned with quality over quantity or quality, right? Essentially, where you don't want a particular subcom to take on a lot of projects per semester that would essentially jeopardize the quality of the content that they're producing. Can I first clarify? Is that what you exactly meant?
Saying that it might not work with your quota system.
I think so. In terms of event requests, I think it's pretty clear that, like, sure, we're able to reject certain event requests, right? But essentially, the amount of event requests that's channeling into manga is not necessarily being controlled by us. And sure, we're able to reject it, but our priority is to not reject it, right? So if there are 40 event coverage requests per semester, we have to kind of accommodate within that 40 value. So if we were to divide that 40 figure according to the subcoms that we have, perhaps one subcom will take on 2 event coverage requests. Despite your concern on this particular subcom taking more than they can handle, this is unfortunately not something that is controlled by us, right? Because the amount of event coverage requests that is being channeled into manga is not something that we can control. So this quota system is implemented to ensure that everyone gets their fair share of work. So making this clear in the beginning of their term it provides them a pathway, right? It provides them a clear understanding of what they need to take on when they join manga. So if they think that they're not able to take on 3 projects, for example, per semester, then they can simply just turn down the role. So that's what the quota system is essentially aiming for. Yeah. Crystal will answer the second part.
Okay, so in terms of the workload and timing for the content that you've mentioned, right? I personally have experience creating content or long forms of content. So I will make sure that it is on time. Words do not count. So I will show it to you to actions if I do get elected. But I do have experience, and I will ensure that all of the content will be on time because this is my job and it's my responsibility if I do get elected. And if something happens, I will take full responsibility as well as learn from it, because this is a learning process for all of us. So I will lead with the ability that I have currently, and I will lead with all the ability that I have currently, and I will do my best to ensure that everything is on time and following the guidelines.
Thank you, Crystal. That answers my question. Yashvin, however, I would still like to understand, even at the beginning of the semester, if a subcom has accepted the role, there is no guarantee that they know they can take on the amount of content. But once you accept an event and choose to cover it, you must publicize, you must produce the content. How will you ensure that there is not a case where subcom overcommits, and then cannot produce, because there are many cases where subcoms commit and then later on we find out that they didn't cover the event. How will you confront this issue, especially with the quota system implementing that they must take on certain amount of content, and therefore they will be more likely to be pressured into taking content that they maybe cannot handle?
I think joining Monga as a subcom, there is this preconceived idea that you are going to take on roles and you are going to cover events, right? You have this intention already when joining Monga. In terms of what you said on in terms of Monga subcommittees underperforming or not being able to commit to a specific event coverage, right? My response to this is that the quota system streamlines the idea of someone overworking themselves. So your main concern on of someone overworking themselves kind of is solved by this quota system, because as soon as a Monga subcom has sufficiently fulfilled this quota and has sufficiently provided their abilities, they know for a fact that their kind of task towards Monga is fulfilled. And this makes them, this allows them to like underwork themselves in a sense. So I don't think that there is going to be a scenario where a Monga subcom is going to overwork themselves to the point where they're unable to commit to fulfilling their task, right? Solely because this quota system has told you that you are supposed to fulfill maybe 3 projects this semester. And this is the intention that they come into Monga while performing their task.
Okay, if I may supplement Yash's answer a little bit, I do believe that unexpected things happen, and that sometimes people can overestimate of how much they can do and how much time they have in their hands. So I think during situations of when subcoms are unable to perform up to standards or to fully commit their time to their agreed commitments, that is when, if elected, we as OBs have to step in. We pledge to stay closely connected to our.
Wait, is something happening?
Yeah.
Is the mic
is
off?
Okay.
Okay,
So-
but can the audience hear that you? Oh yeah, I think you can just continue. Okay, you guys can just continue.
Okay,
talking.
sure. Okay, so as I was saying, I think that is where we, if elected as OBs, will have to step in. If elected as the editors, we'll be committed to having a close relationship with our team members, with our subcommittees, and make sure that we understand where their workload and how they are doing on their event coverages and the progress that they're making. With this understanding and with this connection, we'll always be here to help them, to assist them, and to guide them if they have any form of trouble or issues completing their commitments. If they do have those issues and they bring it up to us, then it will be easy for us to step in and help them to complete those commitments.
To add something to that, our quota system, we are trying to implement it for ECs to be exact, is because in the MUSA handbook guidelines that we need to do ECs. So the quota system is mainly for ECs and not for IPs or creative work. So for IPs or creative work, it's up to the subcoms or either one of us to take up the IPs if we or the creative work, extra creative work that they want to do. And the quota system is to act as a way that they can gauge on how much they are expected to do. So some people, some subcoms, they do not know what they are expected of when they come into manga. So in this quota system, we are trying to show them or to tell them that we expect this much from you. Can you commit to this?
I also would like to emphasize, right? I think the reason why we're facing difficulty this year in terms of having subcoms be committed to a particular event coverage, right, is the fact that we're not essentially made aware of the amount of time that we are required to commit to manga, and the quota system would essentially eradicate this entirely. We are going to tell them from the very start, from the very beginning, that this is the amount of time that you are required to commit to manga, and this is the amount of projects that you need to take on per semester. And along with this guideline, we're able to again deconstruct this central idea of overworking subcommittees, because they know for a fact that this is the amount of projects that they're needed to be taken on this like per semester.
Okay, before I go on, for Office Bearer, this would be the last question because we are running out of time. Because we still need to open the floor to the students as well. So you guys can think of the last question that you guys would like to ask the candidates.
I'm gonna ask about this one. If you guys have any other questions, I'm gonna ask. Can I have 2 more questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hi. So following up on the building of the subcommittee quota system, you talk a lot about fair distribution workload amongst media and writer. Given the lack of graphic design subcommittee, with the extensive amount of workload of event coverage internal projects, how do you plan to prevent overworking of graphic design subcommittee, considering that writer and media workload is also influence graphic design workloads? And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And I understand that from previous iterations of manga and previous feedback from previous OBs, head of design OBs, there has always been a consistent problem, a consistent issue of a lack of subcommittee and how the workload for head of design can be at times pretty heavy. To counter that, if elected, I pledge to build up and use up every resource and technology available to me to build up templates that can be used by my subcommittee and by myself throughout this semester. These templates will only act as guideline or benchmarks of what I expect the quality of work to be. It will not be a set or strict template that everybody has to follow, but during times where workload is high and during times when I simply do not have that much time in my hands to fully create a very, very intricate design, I'll be falling back onto a template that I've built early on in the semester to essentially prioritize efficiency and make sure that everything still comes out by the deadline without compromising quantity or quality.
All right. So previously, you mentioned about the ESSFS. So since the ESSFS is the responsibility of school representatives and the vice president, why would you involve a body that is meant to be remain neutral in this process? Why would you be actively involved in it?
So the reason why I brought up those 2 surveys is merely an example, right? We are still going to be neutral and impartial when reporting on instances regarding those surveys. Actually, not instances regarding those surveys, instances regarding problems in Monash. The reason why I brought up those surveys is to highlight the problems in Monash, right? So if, for example, a person has a problem with inclusivity and diversity in Monash, if they think that Monash is not doing a good job in portraying inclusivity and diversity, they're able to now use manga as a platform to address their frustrations. But again, we're going to be very mindful in reporting issues like this because we recognize that these issues might not necessarily shed Monash in a positive light, but if you were to refer to the Monash, the MUSA handbook, editors section 6 or number 6 is to be as transparent and as inclusive as possible when it comes to reporting events, even when it is concerning the editors themselves. Meaning that if a person has a problem with inclusivity and diversity, as an example, in Monash, they're able to now use Monga as a platform, and we have to be transparent and we have to be inclusive of their problem. So we're not essentially taking sides, we're now publicizing the fact that these are certain problems in Monash, and we're making these problems made apparent to the students. Because if the problem is not made apparent to the students, they are not going to take action to effectively make change. So this is the central idea that we have with this new reporting series, right? Thanks.
Just a quick follow-up.
Okay, this will be the one last question.
Yeah, just a quick
Then
follow-up.
afterwards will be the questions from the students that are present here and also the live stream.
Yep. Yeah, so just a quick follow-up. How will you ensure that there will be no overlap in this responsibility that you are taking with the responsibilities of school representatives, VPs, and welfare?
So the the overlap between our task and the task of welfare and school reps, in terms of publicizing this new reporting approach, there is going to be an overlap. But we believe that this overlap is necessary, right? We believe that this overlap is necessary in terms of publicizing Monash's concerns, in terms of making aware and making apparent of things that are just wrong in Monash. And since Monga has a sufficient platform and Monga already writes elaborate articles and already does, elaborate writing when it comes to certain issues, we think that it will be quite a waste if we don't capitalize on these aspects and these situations.
Okay. All right. So that's the end of the questions from the office bearers. Now we'll be passing to the questions from the students. But before that, we'd like to take a 1 minute intermission just to fix the mic for real quick.
Hello, good evening. Okay, why does manga find the need to do the responsibilities of your 7 schools? I.e., just now you mentioned like if there's a problem with a unit, why do you guys feel like you need to step in and not your respective schools? That's their job.
Because I think I briefly mentioned already, right? The most that school reps and school assembly can do is to talk with Monash faculty and to talk with Monash faculty and talk with Monash admin, right? That's the extent of my understanding. What Monga's gonna do in this situation is publicize the concerns because we're already writing elaborate articles. So, for example, if a student has a issue in I don't know Chem 1051, right? We are going to take their experience and transform it into an article, and we're then going to publish that article on our manga website. We already see a lot of universities doing this in the global north, and it works, right? Quite of a big example, but the Yale Daily News does this, the Harvard Crimson does this, a lot of Ivy Leagues in the United States do this, right? So they have school assemblies. Other universities in the global north, they do have school assemblies as well, but the reporting body takes on this duty and this task because the students need to know of the problems. In terms of the school assembly, providing action towards this particular problem. It's providing action towards this particular problem in response or towards the faculty. What we're doing is making this issue apparent and making sure that every Monash student is made aware of this issue. So that's where manga comes in.
Okay, I have a follow-up question
Yeah,
for
sure.
that. Okay, my follow-up firstly is one, I have three, okay? Like it's basically gonna cover 3 facets. First one, how is it different from Humans of Monash? Secondly, how can you ensure that it's accurate and it's not based on your bias if you have beef with the lecturer, for example? Thirdly, what's your intention of, let's just say, reporting? Let's just say I have a problem in my Bio 1011 unit. What stops me from dragging down the lecturer? What is the intention of the article basically being published?
Okay, I'm so sorry for interrupting. Before they proceed, right, please assign a PIC on behalf of the entire editors candidates to answer the question. Because we are running out of time.
All right,
Just
sure.
make sure that one person is representing the entire editors.
For this particular question?
For all the remaining questions that followed up. Yeah,
Okay,
for
sure.
All the questions.
Sure. I'll answer your first question. In terms of, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat again?
Okay,
The 3 questions.
so the intention of
Intention.
doing this, okay?
Sure.
What's your intention of firstly publicizing these articles? Like, because you're targeting these units, these lecturers as a whole. Secondly, how can you ensure that it's accurate? It's not based on your own bias. Thirdly, how is it different from Humans of Monash?
Okay. I'll answer how it's different from Humans of Monash first.
Okay.
Humans of Monash looks at particularly interesting students in Monash and talking about their lives, right? Or particularly interesting or multifaceted lecturers in Monash and talking about their lives. What we're doing is we are taking a person's experience in Monash and taking a person's complaint in Monash and publicizing that and writing an article based on that. There's no problems or there's no complaints in Humans and Monash because someone doesn't complain about inclusivity and diversity in Humans and Monash. So that's where both of these series differentiate each other, right? In terms of intention, how do we make sure that it doesn't degrade or essentially desecrate a person's name in Monash, right? The way that we do this is by quality control and fact checking, is by collecting data, is by talking to multiple students around Monash and to ensure that this particular issue is legitimate and this particular issue is real. So that's how we would solve that. In terms of biases, we have a team of, is it 7? 9 writers, right? Yeah, 9 or 7 writers in the writing department. All of us, ideally, would work collaboratively in releasing this article. Of course, not everyone's going to fully commit and write every single sentence in this article, but everyone is going to have a say and everyone's going to have an opinion on the article and the subject at hand. So with this, we're able to reduce any biases because we're hearing from different opinions and different perspectives.
Can I still follow up? Please?
Okay, just one quick one.
Okay. Your manga subcommittee. Do you have our past magazines?
Yeah.
Do you read Humans of Monash?
Yeah.
It's, if you are aware, Humans of Monash is for everybody. Doesn't matter you have an interesting story to tell or not. It's inclusive in every sense, especially the one Humans of Monash or the two that we had last year.
Yes. That's not really a question.
You contradicted yourself earlier where you said, how do I say it? Like you contradicted yourself where you said Humans of Monash is not for inclusivity. Yeah.
No, that's not what I meant.
But that's what you said.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said either. What I said was that Humans of Monash is geared towards life experiences, right? And this new writing series is geared towards addressing problems and concerns of students in Monash. So that's the very two important distinction that we're going to make, right? Humans of Monash, life experiences. This new reporting series talks about concerns and problems in Monash through the perspective of students. So there's a very big difference, I feel.
Okay, Rashwan, what's your question?
All right, so I had a question in regards to your manifesto point about redefining manga. So I see that a lot of it revolves around making manga more creative. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right, so could you tell me a little bit more about how you plan to make it more creative? And what about manga this year lacks creativity? Because the posters I've seen are pretty creative. They also had the art gallery event, pretty cool. So what are you gonna do to make it more creative, subjectively?
Okay, so thank you for your question. In regards to saying how we're gonna make manga more creative, is that it's not technically saying that manga now is not creative, but we're just adding on to whatever that we have right now. And in terms of using like a new platform, what we intend to do for redefining manga is to basically have our subcommittees have a platform to basically put out what their interests and their creative artworks are that may not be part of event coverages. Because if you look at a lot of our content recently, is that a lot of them are actually mostly event coverages and internal projects. Most of them are for certain people or for certain places such as Monch. So using like YouTube, we would want to use that platform to kind of just allow our subcommittees to put out what they personally made and kind of just publicize themselves. Yeah.
Okay, Rashwan, do you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, so to follow up, basically you said that you want to give a platform to your subcommittee members to publicize their work better, right?
Yes.
Okay, so would that not necessarily be the purpose of the magazine? Because the magazine is supposed to, contain all the work and stuff that they've done as well. Additionally, how does that fit into your job scope when your job scope is to simply do reporting and you're already doing it in a creative manner? What part of your constitutional job scope makes it so that you need to strive to do it a different way? And what particular audience are you trying to reach with this new creativity? Because you mentioned that everything you do currently is targeting particular people. So what group of people do you aim to target with this new idea?
Okay, so I'd like to mention something that you said, that manga is what a reporting body. Is it? That is what we're trying to move away from. We don't want to just be known as a reporting body. We want to be known as our own individuals as well, which is why we have YouTube as our platform, because we want to show people that our members are their own creative individuals as well. So other than just being known as reporting bodies, we want to be known as our own individual manga people, that we are creative people as well. As in terms of audience reach, a lot of our content is mostly focused on Monash, which there is no problem. However, having a YouTube channel allows our members to not only put out like content that they created, and it kind of targets other people outside of Monash or just any creative individual in general. So having that platform increases their outreach and increases not only student outreach, but also manga's name as a whole. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, we'll take a break from the live session, like the physical one, because there are some questions from a live stream as well.
Oh.
So as usual, please assign one PIC to answer the questions that are being asked on the live stream.
Alright.
So this question actually break out into three branches. So it was mentioned creating a new YouTube channel to showcase creative work. I believe this is one of the things that the candidates mentioned earlier. However, as of right now, MUSA has a centralized YouTube channel. So the first question from this individual is, what are some of the key points that you have considered to conclude that a new channel to be created is essential? That's the first question. Second question is, how will you ensure that the creation of a new channel will not overwhelm the number of platforms Monasians could refer to? And the third question is, what are your plans to grow, uphold, and upkeep the platform from scratch? If you need me to repeat the question, please let me know.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And after discussing, please assign one PIC to answer on behalf of the candidates.
Okay, we'll take a minute to discuss.
Yeah, sure. Alright, now can go back to live. Alright, so Crystal, please provide the answer to the person.
Okay, hello there. So to answer your question, how is MUSA going to centralize for the key points, right? No, wait. Yes. In terms of creativity, manga does have creativity, but in our opinion, is not enough. We feel that there could be more access to freedom of creativity in manga. So a lot of our creativity right now is mostly for event coverages. So as I have mentioned multiple times in this debate, is that having this YouTube platform basically allows our subcoms to have a platform that they can share their works. And in terms of magazine, you can't put videos in magazines. So having the YouTube is just kind of like a little journal for people to upload the videos there and have a memory as well as the publicizing of their content. In terms of how we ensure, how will we not overwhelm people in terms of the amount of manga accounts that we have, is that it is an option whether or not you would like to follow manga on our social media accounts, because we do not force you to follow our accounts. Okay, if you would like to see some entertainment or some fun creative work and fun videos, you can follow us on our YouTube and you can find some content there, but it is not compulsory for you to follow. And for YouTube, we plan to put out more entertainment content and creative artworks, so there won't be too much of important informations that will be publicized there. Majority of our important news will be put on our Instagram instead. And in terms of how we're going to uphold and maintain our YouTube channel, is that we intend to link it to our Instagram, because our Instagram is our main page, right? So we'll post updates and also news on our YouTube channel in order for you guys to be able to follow up what we do on our YouTube. So even if you guys aren't, following our YouTube or, subscribing to our YouTube, you guys will still kind of know what we're doing there. And if you feel like it's interesting and you want to check it out, go ahead. We're not forcing you or anything. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for the answer, Crystal. So Ibrahim, you can ask the question there like us.
Okay, so my question is actually based off what Danielle said earlier. Okay, so I don't know if you are aware, but about the complaints, we have an entire committee headed by the vice presidents and the school representatives called the Education Affairs Committee, who handles this matter solely themselves, and they work with their heads of schools as well. So this does not fall under your constitutional job scope and jurisdiction as well, but nevertheless, if you do want to write articles about this, my question is, how are you planning to work with this? Are you planning to work with the school representatives to get such information? Because how are you all going to gather this information in the first place? And how will you work around the confidentiality matter?
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Ibrahim.
Okay. Once again, I would like to emphasize the main intention of this new reporting series, right, is to mobilize the students, is to ensure that the students are made aware of these issues, right? Sure, it might not necessarily fall under our constitutional job scope, but the thing is, with Monga, we have this opportunity and we have this platform to publicize these concerns. With all of the other jurisdictions in place, they are not essentially publicizing the concerns. They are not writing elaborate articles, and they're not collecting information and translating them into a palatable form of writing and a creative form of writing where students are able to consume it and be made aware of the problems in Monash, right? In terms of working around confidentiality, our intention is not necessarily to touch on that aspect. Our intention is to showcase experiences of students taking particular units, or showcase experiences of students studying in Monash. And if they have concerns regarding specific cases in Monash, for example, the DSS policy, inclusivity and diversity in Monash, or other aspects in Monash, that is what we're focusing at. That is what we're aiming to convey to the general Monash population, right? So in terms of collaborating with school assembly, I don't think that that is essentially that difficult. If they have the data and if they have the information, we're able to take that data and information and translate it into a long form article where students are more likely to read it. Yes, I hope that answers.
I'm just going to follow up to that. Is basically,
sure.
I don't think they will be very comfortable in giving you that data, but it's up to the next upcoming school representatives and the vice presidents. It's their choice to do so. Okay, thank you for that answer. But I have one more question. It's regarding graphic design. So you emphasize a lot about creative individuals and expressing yourselves, while head of graphic design said that he will make a template for design to follow. So this contradicts with what they want to be creative, because of graphic design is like a platform for them to express themselves this way. So how do you plan on working this out?
Before that, can I just quickly respond to the closing statement that you made?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Before Jason takes over in terms of design, um, in terms of the writing articles based on units, right? Based on concerns regarding units, this is merely an example. This is merely an example that we're giving as our manifesto to paint a narrative on what we are really intending to do. It isn't confined within concerns based on unit. It isn't confined within concerns in Monash faculty, right? If, for example, students have a problem with the pure basis of which Monash policies are based upon, right? They can use this as a prompt and we can write an article for them. So it isn't confined within units and isn't confined within education, teaching, and learning. It also can be expanded to like other facets of our experience in Monash. Yeah. So I think that's a very important clarification that we need to make. But I'll pass it on to Jason.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you so much for your question, Ibrahim. And I think the head of graphic design has brought out a similar question, and I've addressed it as well in my previous answer to her. But the use and creation of that templates is to just give, if elected, my subcommittees a general idea of what the expectations of manga might be, a general guideline of how good a quality you need to deliver to meet manga expectations. It is definitely not to constrict any of my subcommittees' creativity. They are free to explore and express their creativity as long as it meets to manga expectations and that it is also in somewhat alignment to again, it is undeniable that the design subcommittee usually has very few individuals and that there's a very heavy workload to each of these individuals. The creation of these templates is to build efficiency and to ensure that during times when we are pretty much swamped with work, we are overloaded with expectations and commitments, that we can rely on these templates to get work done efficiently without compromising quantity nor quality. Thank you.
All right, Ibrahim. Can you please pass the mic to Thomas on the left? And then the last question from the physical will be from Dom. But at the same time, there's one live stream question that I'd like to address as well. So the question is, hey, yeah, I'm not sure if this is asked, but how will the candidates balance editorial independence with accountability to the student body to ensure both free expression and responsible journalism?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay. How will the candidates balance editorial independence with accountability to the student body to ensure both free expression and responsible journalism? And after this question, Dom will be the last question for today, yeah?
The online question first.
Yeah, sure. Wait, oh, okay. Alright, that's the online question actually. So you guys are answering now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so sorry.
Okay. So in terms of editorial independence and accountability and balancing both of these aspects, right? We recognize that the four of us, we have free will and we have our own editorial opinions and our own editorial biases, right? But in terms of recognizing these biases and then implementing them in Monash, we're going to do a very good job in that sense because our social and political opinions and identify them, right? So by doing this, we now have hold ourselves accountable, and we can now very effectively address these editorial processes. In terms of free expression, I think something to note is that despite Malaysia's fairly conservative social political climate, we are committed to we are committed to address situations, and we are committed to publish information that is in line with the EDI framework. So essentially, despite a particular issue or despite a particular information being not necessarily aligned with the wider Malaysian social political climate, and despite it not conforming to conservative values in Malaysia, we are still going to publish it due to our very strong belief in free expression and freedom of speech.
Okay, so for the last question is from Dom, and please make the questions as concise and also for the answer as well. Please make it as straightforward as possible because we are already ahead of the time. So Dom, what's the question to the
Okay.
candidates?
I think I apologize. The second question will not need a follow up, but the first one will they can choose to respond now. Okay. So this is with regards to the aforementioned writing series, right? You mentioned before. I think I'd like to ask also how much I know you discussed within the editors team about your plans among one another. But the question is, do you discuss between yourself and your party members about your plans to collaborate between departments? Because from what you mentioned just now, I'm aware that such a function is meant to bring awareness to issues within campus. However, do you also realize that that is also the function of the MSc? The MSc's official function is to raise issues from the student community up for reporting. But it's also a place where most people think that it's only for office bearers to report on the situation within the team. It's also the biggest platform where you can raise an extraordinary general meeting to raise awareness for hundreds of students in campus. So if you weren't aware of that, I'd encourage you to look into that, because I feel like a lot of the issue that you're talking about writing series, right? It's a good idea if Monga was apart from MUSA. What I'm trying to say is MUSA is not just your team. I was also from Echo Media, so I understand where the direction is headed. But I'm saying that Monga is not an individual outlet that is separate from MUSA. You have to perform functions that are also related to the student association. So my question is, why do you think that it's such a great way to spend resources when I feel like personally it's not really actionable? You are writing about these issues, but where is your call to action? What resources can you muster outside of writing about the article and hoping students are paying attention to it? Because without a proper actionable items and progress plan, it just feels like it's more like a pure entertainment site like World of Buzz, for example. Case in point, right? Example, right? If someone jumps off from a building in Monash, will you be reporting on it? Because this is a real life scenario that happened in 2022. The answer to that is we did not report on it. MSc may have briefly mentioned, but we did not report on it because some things should not be mentioned because of mass hysteria. And how about naming and shaming lecturers and lecture classes? Where does the boundary go once you lose control of the narrative? Because if you do not control the narrative, you're letting students decide what to do with it. So I'm just simply, in simple terms, just asking, where do you think the boundary should lie when you are addressing issues like this and you let the information go into the public without controlling the narrative?
Okay, is the candidates clear with the question? Okay.
You brought up a very good point in terms of MSc being a space to raise these concerns, right? But is that actually happening? Are students actually attending MSc to raise these concerns? No, right? Students are not doing this. The reason why students are not doing this is because, to be honest, the way that student governments, not only in Monash, everywhere, have set up the system is that it can be a tad hostile and it can be a tad intimidating in terms of student coming to these space with all student leaders and addressing this concern. So our intention with this is to have the student come to us and address their concerns. Since MSc is not, the students going to MSc and addressing their concerns there is clearly not working, Monga is now utilizing their platform and furthering this narrative. In terms of our articles being labeled as like not actionable, right? I don't think this is necessarily true, considering the fact that opinions, words, and narrative is quite actionable by itself. If you were to lay out an issue bare for students to scrutinize, they're able to then take this issue and transform it into an action. That is our intention, right? Is for students to read this article and for students to potentially relate with the issues in this article and then perhaps make effective change. I believe your third question is where should the boundary lie, right? So in terms of this question, we've already built up a fairly solid framework in a sense that we are going to report on issues like this with full transparency and with legitimate data, right? So before the article reaches the Monga website, there's going to be rounds of quality control, there's going to be rounds of editing, and everyone essentially has a particular opinion in this article. And all of these opinions are being catered for, essentially. So with this, we're able to publish something that is stripped down to its barest details that doesn't necessarily cause mass hysteria, or it doesn't necessarily cause extreme reactions out of the students, considering the fact that we are reporting it in a very light tone. We are not a radical organization. We don't intend to create mass hysteria. We don't intend to cause, like student outbursts. But issues like this needs to be made aware. And Monga is the platform for these issues to be made aware. So essentially, the boundary lies at us deciding how we are reporting it. We are reporting it with a very soft tone. We are reporting it with no pejoratives. We are not essentially publishing hate speech or things along the lines of that.
Okay, before we proceed, just a reminder to Dom and also Yashvin, please keep the questions and answers as short as possible and straightforward as well, because we're running out of time and the aircon is ready to close. The next thing we know, probably the light will be closed as well. So please make it straightforward and please make it straightforward. Yeah.
Okay lah. For the interest of time, I don't think I will ask you to reply any further to my questions, but I will give you genuine feedback as to what I think you should focus on. I've taken into consideration all your answers just now. I think that your intentions are genuine and your consideration is deliberate. But at the same time, I would ask you to do a little bit more research into how crisis management is done in MUSA. If you notice, right, whenever anything happens, right, the reason why we don't report on it outright is because a lot of times, even if we control the narrative, it becomes mass hysteria anyways. If you want a case in example, right, let's say someone was caught sexually harassing someone on campus, and this is a true example from last year. Within 6 hours, the entire campus knew about the entire incident. There is no way to control any news immediately once it comes out, even if you report it in a light tone. That is why any issue where we call it, in media terms, in creative terms, it's called sensational gossip. In business terms and for organization-wise, it's called crisis management, okay? And in most of the time, the reason how it's conducted is you don't want any other narrative other than the narrative you're publishing to come out, and that's why it's usually down to publicity to create a press release. And in regards to, okay, let's say a case, sexual harassment, how do you report in this manner in anything other than a serious tone? You cannot make light of this issue. You cannot soften the narrative and say, yeah, got one person kena dirogol in campus. There's no way to say it nicely. There's no way you can say someone's raped on campus nicely. So it's a good idea in relation to topics that are not serious, and that's how Monga has been doing all this while. For example, talking about what are the nice places to eat on around PJ, for example. I know Monga has been doing that quite a while, and they continue to do that with new segments. But at the same time, you need to seriously explore how you tackle serious themes in Monga side. I'm not saying you shouldn't proceed with your idea. I'm saying proceed once you've done due diligence. Okay? And here's my main feedback, okay? This will be maybe 2 minutes, okay? Sorry, guys, okay? I think your main theme for these elections is a good idea. It revolves around creativity and propagation of creative content. It's what we need for Monga because that's what distinguishes Monga from publicity. Publicity is MUSA's voice. Monga is an individual voice separate from that. That's what makes it different, right? But I also want you to place some focus on policy because if you all focus on content creation, that's what typical media outfits do. But we are not a typical media outfit. We are part of an organization that is bigger than us. So what is your role as part of whole MUSA? I think you need to determine your unique value proposition and where you want to focus your efforts. Don't keep talking about, yeah, we want to create content, maybe we can collab here and there, here and there. The truth is, you only have so much time in an entire year to only work on so many things. And you do need to define the boundaries of content between your jurisdiction and the other media teams. Someone mentioned just now, maybe we can collab with Music Club to make a music video. And my response would be does Music Club not have their own media team and is that not under CNS's jurisdiction? And in addition to that, would you not also consult CNS publicity instead of Monga for that? Like music video creation generally is not under Monga's prerogative, it's under MUSA publicity's prerogative. And Monga's main goal is to create content for the magazine that you publish end of the year. It's not to create new YouTube channels to publish videos. I'm also not saying that's a bad idea. I'm saying it's a good idea within reason. And I think instead of adding on creativity, like someone said just now, you do need creativity, but you also need to relook internally at the reason why you do what you do. If you claim that you really are for the students, you will let the students make the decision on what type of content you will publish instead of choosing it yourself. See? And with the limited time, resources, and manpower you have, it's better to either increase the quality of your own projects or you collab with other people. Because I think you underestimate the level of bureaucracy MUSA and Monash has. You can ask them yourself how long it takes to get an event approved, right? So I think content creation is good idea for Monga, but it's not your core purpose. So if you do want to increase the core purpose, a new business segment needs more funding, manpower, and resources. And Monga is not your high school editorial, it's not Eco Media. MUSA is for the students and by the students. MUSA is nothing without your office bearers, but it's also nothing without the students. So if you choose to really want to make this position glow, I mean for you, right? You really need to consider what the students need and not what you want to do. Okay, that's my end.
Okay, appreciate that, Tom. I think other candidates don't want you to be present in their debate already. Okay, but still, we still have a final segment to go, which is the closing statement from the candidates. So for this section, the candidates just need to summarize all the things that is being discussed today, and also just an encouragement to all the students that are watching the live stream or present here today on why they should vote for you. So please make it short, simple, and just a summary of everything that's happened in today's debating session.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everyone for attending. You guys are amazing. And I also really like to thank Dom for the very heavy but very important comments. Yeah, we will take those into very heavy consideration. But we can promise you that all four of us, as the editors, if we do get elected, that we will ensure that the Monash Gazette transparently conveys the stories of Monashans with utmost journalistic integrity. And in our commitment to diversity, equity, and also inclusion, every Monashan across all walks of life and are welcome to publish their pieces with Monga. Okay, rest assured that your pieces will definitely be published with minimal editing and perfectly preserving the essence of your story. And we are here to bring your stories into the center stage and also provide a space to memorialize them. And together we strive to celebrate your stories with you. And we will very much take into very heavy consideration for all of the things that you guys have said, and we will further discuss it more. And we would just like to say, please vote for us, for Monga, and also vote for our members in Equitas. Thank you.
All right, so let's give a round of applause to not just the candidates and also to the office bearers that are present with us today as well. And on behalf of the Election Commission, I'd like to apologize for the extension of today's debating session. And really appreciate everyone stay on to the last debate session for today. And that's it for day one. And there are 4 more days to go. And please make sure to stay tuned for all the debating sessions that are going to happen in the next few days. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good night.